Dennis Allen, who was a defensive coordinator, will be taking over the reins as Sean Payton is on his way out. One man who will be there to welcome the new head coach of the Black and Gold is Luke Johnson, who joins us just about weekly to talk about the Saints. Luke, how are you? Thanks for some time.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm doing great. I'm glad to actually have this coaching search done. I feel like LSU had all these coaching searches that lasted for 45 days.
Yep.
And ours lasted for 13 days, and they ended up picking the guy that everybody kind of assumed they would. So it was easy.
Yeah, well, what do you make of the process of the names that came out, the names that interviewed? When Mickey spoke with you all last week, I mean, do you think they kind of had their man all along, or do you think that that's just what they settled on after they went through their list?
Well, I think you can know going in, okay, we know we really like Dennis Allen. We know he's got a very good shot at this. But I do think that they did their due diligence. And I've seen a couple of people, just because everybody was saying right when it happened, okay, Dennis Allen's probably the guy. Everybody's kind of assuming he's the guy. And, people are saying, well, they wasted everybody else's time and they had these sham interviews. I just don't think that was the case. They had 4 people in the room, 5 if you count Dennis Lauscha, who is, for all the ones they did in Mobile, he joined virtually. And I think they were going through all these guys and giving them the appropriate time and consideration. But when it all came down to it, Dennis really fit what they wanted. And it's somebody who is familiar with the organization, how it operates, with the personnel they have, and he has some head coaching experience. And even though that didn't go so great for Dennis Allen, I think that is something they were kind of looking for. And he was somebody who kind of fit. They had checked every box for them.
I struggle with how to ask this question. I'll give it my best shot. How much of this is an attempt at a continuation of the era that they've had, and how much of this is we want Dennis Allen's fingerprints on this organization in a more impactful way?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it really was important to them to have somebody who is familiar with how they operate. I think that really worked in Dennis's favor. But at the same time, they've had a long time to be around Dennis. They know how he operates, and I think they are very comfortable with handing the organization over to him because they know he's a good coach. I mean, he's a really, really good defensive coach, right? I mean, that much is obvious. But I think they also got a chance to see how he interacts with players, how he interacts with the staff. I think they believe he can be a very good NFL head coach. So, a little bit of both. But I don't think one was more of a factor over the other. I think they were both big parts of why Dennis Allen is the guy.
Most Saints fans, especially with Sean Payton being the head coach, so you want to win a division, go to the playoffs, and obviously win a Super Bowl. Do you think Coach Allen's going to have those expectations, especially in his first season?
Yeah, I do. I think they are looking at this roster that they have right now, and they were like, okay, this roster minus a couple key pieces for a big chunk of the year went 9-8, and that probably exceeded what anybody's reasonable expectations would be, given all of the stuff they had to deal with last year. So I think they are looking at this and they're like, okay, we are still right in this. They're looking across the division. They're seeing Atlanta's hasn't been good since 2017, basically. Carolina's a mess, and Tom Brady just retired in Tampa, and they might have a big exodus of players from there. So they're seeing an opportunity there. They have a really good roster, top to bottom, but they got to have the main question answered there, and that's who's going to play quarterback. I think the expectations are going to kind of depend on what the answer to that question is, and what the answer to who's going to be coaching the offensive staff. Because I don't necessarily think it's going to be the group that was there under Sean Payton.
Yeah, that's where I want to go next. Both sides of the ball. Ryan Nielsen, potential to be a defensive coordinator, just as Dennis Allen kind of run that show as well. What's Pete Carmichael's role looking forward? I mean, these are kind of tough questions to answer, but I think those are the first 2 names that came up as this hire was made.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be something that's kind of getting parsed out in these next couple of days. They've obviously got a lot of guys here who have been on staff for a long time. I mean, Pete Carmichael's been here since 2006. And just about everybody else has been with the organization for 5, 6, 7 years or more. So there's a lot of people to choose from, but also it's now Dennis Allen's staff. and it's going to operate the way he wants it to operate. And I just don't know who those guys are for him. I would imagine that he's going to be still calling the defensive plays. I don't know how that impacts who's going to be their DC. I don't know if that's going to be Ryan Nielsen. I don't know if it's going to be Chris Richard. There's a couple of different guys they could go with there. I think there's a possibility they go outside the organization for an offensive coordinator. The reports are out there that Pete Carmichael is not going to be that guy, and that's kind of his choice. I don't know if we're going to get any answers on that today, but I would expect some shakeup on the staff.
Oh, we saw the Saints last offseason have to make a lot of cuts, a lot of guys not on the roster that you probably expected to get contributions from. Do you expect them to get out of that this offseason with possibly extending guys, or do you think they're going to have a little mass exodus again like they did last offseason?
No, I think their roster is going to be pretty much intact. They are currently something like $60 million over the cap, but that's a figure they can pretty easily wiggle out of without having to cut a bunch of guys. I think there's going to be a couple guys on the team who have contracts that won't hurt the team if they get rid of them, right? I think Bradley Roby's one of them that you just kind of look at. You're like, okay, he's going to count $10 million against the cap, but if you release him, that number is much, much smaller, and there's not a bunch of dead money that goes with that. But I think a lot of the other moves they're going to make are going to be kind of doing their normal business routine where they're doing these simple restructures and they're pushing money onto future years. And I think there's a little bit with the cap going back up to like something close to a normal number, with the expectation that it's going to keep going up. They feel like they can continue doing this and not have these huge problems where it ends up coming back to bite them in the butt. So I just wouldn't anticipate they're going to blow anything up this year or have a situation similar to last year where they have to release guys that they would really rather keep. I think they're probably just going to be looking at, I imagine at some point we're going to be talking about Ryan Ramczyk having to restructure, Andres Pete, Michael Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore, where you're taking these guys with these big salary figures this year, you're dropping them down to like $1 million in base salary and pushing that into signing bonus money that becomes guaranteed, but it's in the future years and it's prorated over the course of the contract. I think that's going to be what we see this offseason.
Let's do some hypothetical. I don't know Dennis Allen at all. Never heard him even speak, I don't think. I don't know if he's a cliche-riddle guy or if he's very candid. Either way, I'm going to allow you, the writer. If you could get a truthful answer today to one question from Dennis Allen, what would that question be?
I'd want to know what he thinks about his quarterback situation. Yeah. I mean, that's really the biggest question they face this offseason. I think obviously the head coach was a big one, but they went in a direction that we kind of all expected them to go. The really, really big question about the future of this franchise, and really this is going to be directly impacting Dennis Allen's future here, is who's their quarterback going to be. And I'm sure if he's honest, he's going to say, I want to get one of those elite level guys who could potentially be available in the trade. But Russell Wilson has a no trade clause in his contract, and he was supposedly tied to New Orleans last year. But I don't know if that interest is still there if Sean Payton's not here. He's going to have to get an offensive coordinator that probably has some name recognition, and in order to get that guy or get a guy that you really want. So I don't know if that's Jameis Winston. I don't know if that's a quarterback in the draft. I don't know if it's one of these elite level quarterbacks. But I mean, that would be if he could just like take some truth serum and answer honestly. That'd be what I really want to know is what do they really want to do at quarterback?
Instead, you're going to get, and I don't know Dennis Allen, but we're going to pursue all options available to us. We've got a wonderful offensive line, some great weapons, and we're going to bring in an offensive coordinator. You'll get all that. But
I understand that too. Like I get it. Like they can't really say anything. Like
right.
He could say like, we want Aaron Rodgers on our team right now, right? And then Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay, and he's got to be like, hey, Jameis, sorry about that. Like we really do want you actually. So I totally get it.
Right.
But of course they want like a superstar level quarterback. They have a roster right now that if you drop somebody of that caliber in there, they're immediately a Super Bowl contender. Immediately.
Yeah, for sure. All right, some fun and some trouble to finish off here. I guess we'll start with the trouble and end with the fun. What are you hearing on the Alvin Kamara latest?
Well, I mean, we're kind of in old and pattern on that right now. I mean, the initial reports out don't look very good, right? Yeah, I think we all saw the report that came out of Las Vegas. I don't think it's actually technically a police report that we saw, and I don't want to mix up the legal language on that. But
Sure.
yeah, the initial investigation, it looks like he's in some trouble, and I don't know how that's going to impact him going into this season. I don't know if he's going to potentially face jail time. I think that the automatic expectation, though, is that he's probably going to be facing some sort of punishment one way or another, whether it's from the legal system or from the league office. So, I mean, that's a big deal, obviously, and it's really, unfortunate. It seems very out of AK's character from who we've gotten to know over these couple of years. So, yeah, we'll just kind of be watching that, but I think that's going to be something that's probably playing out over these next couple months in the legal system.
On a lighter note, tell me about the media's dinner with Sean Payton over the weekend. That was something that I don't know that I've seen a lot of.
Man, that was awesome. It was really. I've had a few opportunities to be in those types of settings with Sean Payton, and it's just so different from covering him on a day-to-day basis. He's very relaxed, and you can see the charisma that made him just so well respected in locker rooms and among his coaching peers. He's a really fun guy, and he has a lot of great stories, and I wish I could share him on the radio, but I probably can't.
That's for a private dining room and some wine.
Probably had a little bit too much bourbon that night, but, neither here nor there.
All right, well, we'll be in touch, Luke. Get some work done at this press conference, and we'll be talking to you.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now, do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.